Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's Malorax, and today I'm going to be talking about my first time ever getting high. So let me set the stage for y'all real quick, alright? So it was the summer of 2021, I think, and I was going back to Key West for my summer break, which has kind of become a tradition for me because ever since I moved, I've hated every second of it. So going back to my hometown every summer is always a nice thing. It always like de-stresses my mind, and I usually just stay at relatives' houses. So the story is going to be at a relative's house in Key West. And let me tell you guys about the culture down there, alright? If it walks, it smokes. That's kind of the culture down there in the Keys. Everybody smokes weed, everybody does whatever they do. Everybody smokes, everybody drinks, and there's a lot more substances that are a lot more common down there than any other place, I'd say. Not saying that that's safe and all, but if you really wanted to try a drug that you just cannot get your hands on, if you go down there, chances are you're gonna get your hands on it pretty damn fast, okay? That's the type of community that lives down there. So when I went down there that summer, I went down there as a weed virgin. I had never smoked anything at all whatsoever, and I wanted to change that. But before anything, I knew that I needed snacks because even as a kid, I was aware that munchies existed because of all the movies and stuff. And so I went to the store and I got me Mott's applesauce and assorted nuts from that peanut looking guy. And don't ask me why I got those things because I've literally never had applesauce or assorted nuts prior to doing that, which is kind of weird because even years later, I still like eating assorted nuts from the Mr. Peanut guy. And I don't really understand why because never once in my life before that did I ever enjoy peanuts, but every single day after that I did. So maybe some chemical shit happened in my developing brain, but I don't know. And I forgot to mention this detail, but every time I go down there, I'm always on an alcohol binge. Every single day, every single night, I'm just partying. And so my first time getting high would actually be my first time getting crossed as well. And for you guys who don't know what getting crossed is, it's just being drunk and high at the same time. It's nothing crazy. It's just, sipping and smoking at the same time. That's all it is. And on top of all of that, I also just started having my caffeine addiction. Like, I used to love drinking Monster Energies, Rockstars, and Red Bulls so fucking much. So on top of the alcohol, weed, I also had probably 600 milligrams of caffeine in my body. And I'll be honest with you, that is pretty stupid because caffeine is probably the worst substance to mix with anything else just because of how dangerous it can be for your heart. And keep in mind, I'm putting all these things in my body while I am like 5'11 and 130 pounds. Like that, imagine me at that build. That is not a healthy build. That is not a build where you can take a lot of substances and be okay on it. Like that's a build where you take a puff of a cigarette and you overdose. But I'll be honest with you, back then I didn't give a fuck about nothing. I didn't give a fuck about my health, I didn't give a fuck about my future. All I cared about was doing what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. I did exactly what I wanted to do, and I just didn't care. And now after I told you what was going on inside my body chemically, it's time to get on to the story of me actually smoking for the first time. So of course I went to the store and I got the food because I knew I needed the food, right? And then I had to wait till like 1 or 2 in the morning just so nobody would catch me. Even though a lot of people around there are fucking night owls, like you would still see so many cars going by at like 3 in the morning. And I don't know why, because it's kind of an old person neighborhood, and I thought old people went to sleep like very early. And when it hit 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like, okay, it's time to get my vibe on. But to be honest with you, I didn't know the first thing about smoking. And so the first thing I needed was to learn how. So I went on Reddit and I looked up how to smoke weed. I know that sounds so fucking crazy, but I actually did that just because I was like, I want to get this shit right so I can do it perfectly without getting caught, and I want it to be like super effective. And I'll be honest with you, Reddit didn't really teach me shit, because I was reading it and I was like, okay, but like, how do you inhale? Because at that point, I've only ever hit a vape once because I did alcoholics. I didn't do smoking or nothing like that. So I didn't know how to inhale. I didn't know how to do shit. I didn't even know how to roll it, but I still attempted to. And I didn't even mention where I got the weed. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't buy it from anybody. I stole it. I stole it from the people I was staying with because I did not give a fuck. And looking back at it years later, that was just some really, really good shit. And so after finding where they kept it, I was like, okay, I need to roll something up. And so I tried to roll up a J, right? but I didn't know the first fucking thing how, and I tried literally for like 30 minutes. 30 minutes of me trying, and then I gave up. And I literally, what went through my mind was, dude, edibles are a thing. I'm gonna just eat this and see what happens. And so, paper and all, I ate the J I tried to roll up, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait and see what happens. And at that point, I was already drunk, but I knew I wasn't high. So I was like, okay, nothing fucking happened, so let me try to find an alternative to this. And so I went around scrounging through where I found the weed, and then boom, I found a bowl. And I was like, dude, what the fuck is this? This is like a wizard's pipe. And so I was like, wait, wizards smoke out of pipes. So this is it. This is the item that I need. And next, I knew that I needed a lighter, and I bring lighters with me generally everywhere, not because I smoke, but just because they're useful for lighting candles and whatnot. But before I started smoking, I remembered that weed smells fucking terrible and it gets on your clothes. So what do? I take off all my clothes except for my underwear, and I head deep into the fucking woods. Now, the thought process made sense, okay? The thought process was, this is how I avoid attracting people with the smell, and this is how I avoid the smell getting on my clothes. So, in my underwear, I went into the woods, and let me just say, first of all, the fucking mosquitoes and no-sams were fucking crazy, dude. I came out of there itching like a motherfucker. Like, let me tell you what. But when I first got into the woods and I actually first started smoking, I felt it immediately. Like, I immediately felt all the bug bites and shit. Like, they all felt like they were like bubbles of lava coming out of the sand or some shit. And I was like, dude, scratching them feels like there's a volcano about to erupt. Like, immediately, just straight up, I was so lightweight. I was like, dude, I'm about to fucking interdimensionally travel. And so, sitting in the woods smoking, I ran out of what I had in that bowl, and then I went back for more, obviously. But just imagine if you were a bystander who just so happened to see me out of your window. I would look like fucking Bigfoot, just tripping balls, coming out of a fucking forest, scratching himself. So after I get done scratching myself, I head back into where I found the weed, and also, while scrummaging around a little bit for more, I found a pre-rolled J. That was like hitting a fucking treasure chest as a pirate, dude. Like, when I found that, I was ecstatic. But before I smoked that, I decided to get a few more drinks with me, just so I can really vibe out tonight, because whenever you're vibing, you want to go 100%, or you might as well just not do it at all, So I decided to get a little more drunk and smoke that J. But there was a big problem. I didn't know how to smoke that J. With the bowl, it was so easy because there was literally a top and a bottom. But with the J, it was like, dude, which end is the right end? How hard do I have to inhale? Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't understand this contraption. And so what did I do? I went back to Reddit. And I'll be honest with you, Reddit is like the worst app ever fucking created. That shit did not help me at all whatsoever. I ended up being more confused and having more questions than when I fucking came in with. But I eventually figured it out through trial and error. And let me tell you, there was a lot of fucking error. I don't even know how, because there's only 2 sides you can take a hit from. But I somehow fucked it up more than, I'd say, 5 times. And so after I figured it out, I went back to the woods. And let me just say, I went back to the woods and regretted it, because there was a deer. And that deer scared the fuck out of me. And you might be saying, there's a deer? There's no way there's a deer. What the fuck? Deers are so rare to see, just like as like a hunter, they run away. But this is Key West, okay? There's deers left and fucking right who come up to you, like, deliberately. And I when I saw it, I was like, holy fucking shit. Holy shit, I'm gonna die. Like, I actually thought I might have died because I might have, like, pissed off the deer. Like, I might have, like, aggroed the deer. And the thing about these key deer is they're not gonna run away. They're gonna come up closer to you, okay? And so when they approached me, I was like, holy fucking shit, what is going on? And at the same time, I'm scratching myself like I'm actually like on heroin or something because of all the mosquitoes and no-sams. So I'm scratching myself, getting terrified by this deer, and I actually thought that my time was coming. And so my fight or flight response kicked in, and obviously I'm gonna fight, so I bum rushed the deer, right? Because it was my life over his. And the deer ran away. I didn't get fucking close to that deer, okay? But if I were to go slower, I'm sure I could have went up to him, just because that's how those types of deer are. They fuck with humanity somehow. But not me, because I was acting like a fucking idiot, rushing towards it. So after the deer incident, I went back to my little smoking spot in the middle of the woods, still getting torn up by these no-sams and mosquitoes, but I kind of got towards the end of the J, and I realized, I was like, holy shit, my feet are like, they're sinking. And they were not sinking, but to me, like, you know, whenever you get high, you have that feeling of like, you're like, gravity is just a little bit stronger than it should be. That's how I was feeling that whole night after that. I was feeling like, holy shit, I weigh like an extra 300 pounds, and I don't know how to feel about this. I'm like, is this how it feels to be Rick Ross? And that was like the only thing going through my mind like for like 10 minutes, even though I haven't eaten prior to smoking, and I haven't eaten during the smoking process yet because the munchie phase didn't come at this moment. And so after I got done with the J, and after I was feeling like I was Rick Ross, I decided to head back to my little room that I was in. And luckily for me, I was staying on a room on the bottom floor when nobody else was around, because there was only one room on the bottom floor and I was lucky enough to get it. So I went back to that room, and let's just say I tried to take a shower, but there was an outdoor shower, and I got very paranoid that the person next door was looking at me, even though it's completely walled in, like you cannot see through it whatsoever. I was still paranoid about it, but in my mind, I was like, dude, if they're looking at me, they fuck with this. They, I was literally like, dude, they fuck with this. I'm putting on a show right now. And so I started I started to take a shower, but in the back of my mind, I was like, dude, I'm like, people are looking at me and they're entertained by this. And so after I got done with the shower, I could still feel all the bug bites, and it was fucking with me for so long after that. So after I stopped scratching, I went into my room, like officially, and I put on YouTube, because what else are you gonna do except for watch YouTube when you're high? And what I watched for probably 5 hours straight was Markiplier Uno videos. And I was laughing the whole fucking time. Like, I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me, but everything was just drop dead, like, hilarious. And I'm sure if I watched them now, they probably wouldn't be that good, you know? So that's how you know I was fucking gone. But while I was watching these videos, the munchies hit me. And they hit me like a fucking truck. Let me tell you what. That applesauce that I bought didn't stand a fucking chance against me. Even though I will say the applesauce did fight back, I almost choked on it like 5 times. Which, if you ask me how do you choke on applesauce, it's damn near like liquid. I can't answer that, you know, because I was literally just holding them upside down, opening my mouth, and just inhaling. Like, that's the type of level I was on with that applesauce. I was like, dude, this shit tastes amazing, and somehow I almost fucking died on it. You know, somehow I almost choked on applesauce, and I still question that to this day. And when I was choking on the applesauce, I was scared for my life, but I couldn't stop myself from eating it because it tasted so good. So I was like, I kept on consuming this applesauce that was deadly to me, and I was like, dude, I can't stop, I can't stop. And I didn't even touch the fucking peanuts, okay? Because I knew if I was choking on applesauce, I would have died that night if I ate those peanuts, okay? Honestly, like, honest to God, I might have fucking died that night if I ate those peanuts. And I actually have all this on one of my old phones that I recorded, because I was like, dude, I'm gonna record what I do. And I remember watching it like 2 days after, because I was still feeling that shit the next day, okay? Like, I was very lightweight. But like 2 days after, when I was watching the footage, the only thing that was happening was I was just laughing my ass off to Markiplier and eating fucking applesauce. Like, literally nothing else aside from that, dude. I am the most unproductive high, like, ever, dude. Like, it was fucking crazy. Literally for like 5 hours straight, just all applesauce, all Markiplier Uno videos. And I normally, like, can never sleep, but that night, like, when I wanted to go to sleep, I literally fucking just dropped dead. I remember that because that was the first night of, like, real sleep I've gotten. Even though it wasn't real sleep, considering I went to bed at like 5 in the morning. But, like, that was some crazy good, like, instant sleep action. But yeah, I fell asleep, and that was kind of the end of that, you know? And after I did that, I woke up the next morning, I was like, dude, that shit is low-key fire. And then I started doing it like every week. Every week when I was down in Key West, I started doing that. And of course, I did it in a more professional way. I didn't get in my underwear and frolic around in the woods. But if you gave me something else, I probably would have done the same thing. So if you guys like this video, comment down below, like and subscribe, do all that stuff, share it with everybody you know, and tell me your stories in the comment section below, because like, getting high for the first time, like, from everybody that I know, is always a fun time. So I'll see you guys in the next video.